Okay.
Here we are at the Blade Show with Jeff Freeman. And Jeff is a knife designer and now has his own company. Used to be with Gerber. How's that going?
It's going awesome. Freeman Outdoor Gear is doing well. Life is good. It's been a really busy show.
Quality and the price match on these, in my opinion, really well.
Can you tell us about your bucket lot?
Sure thing. It's a finger flipper, aluminum handles, G10, inlay, different colors, button lock. The button holds the lock in the detent closed position, so it won't open. To open it, to engage it, you just pull back on the button.
Ah.
To disengage, you push the button and it closes. So it's truly one-handed. I don't have to move my hand. My fingers aren't in front of the blade when I close it. It just opens, and it's also left-handed. I can use my index finger on the left side to do the same thing. It runs on grade 10 bearings, all stainless.
So now you've got your own company, and
Right.
you handle all the production, everything like that, right?
I do all the machining. I do all the design work. I have some people helping me at the Blade Show, luckily.
You got a crew here, all right? You got the whole crew, and
Yeah.
we were talking before about you being a designer for Gerber. So that you're involved in all different aspects, not just designing, but production, things like that, marketing.
Not so much on the marketing side, but working with marketing to decide what should be made at that point.
So you the engineering aspects?
A lot of the engineering aspects in a big company like that, figuring out how something's going to be made, if it matches with the capabilities of the factory floor, designing things to fit, or working with the floor to come up with ways of making things that you don't really have yet, like to develop a process to make something that you want to build.
So what else you got at the show now?
We have a fixed blade. This is a Tonto bladed 5-inch Spectrum wear steel, Cerakote coated, 3D machine G10 handles, Spec Ops sheath. Just a good all around fixed blade. This has been a really good seller for me at this show.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Been a pleasure, sir.
Sure thing. Thank you.
I bumped into Jeff at the Blade Show. He said, "Hey, I'm in your book, Jeff Freeman." I go, he says, cantilever spring assist button lock. I go, oh, now that sounds familiar. Anyway, it's always been my attempt to put a face with the mechanism, and I guess we could do that now. I was really into these assist mechanisms and button locks in the first book, and Jeff had a very unique mechanism that he worked up with Gerber. The thing is, the difference is that the button helps keep the blade closed. So if you look at the scallop on the tang of the blade, on a regular button lock, it's sort of cut out, and Jeff's has this ledge halfway into the thickness of the tang, and it's the pressure of the spring that helps keep this tendency to keep the blade in a closed position. It could be overcome quite easily, like he's done with his flipper. I did get to buy a knife in Jeff's style of mechanism later on. It didn't have the assist to it. And here's a couple pictures of that. As you can see, the force of the spring shown by the large arrow pushes the button against the tang. And at the point of where the shoulder of the button, which I generally call the cup, is pushing against that part of the tang, and that helps keep the blade closed. So as you can see from the interview, Jeff has reproduced his mechanism into a knife with a flipper, and it seems to work really well. I'm sure glad I ran into Jeff. He's a heck of a nice guy. We had also done a very nice, spontaneous interview, but the sound wasn't messed up. So if you like great sound, this is the end of the story. But I am going to put the first interview up. I hope you don't mind muddling through the sound, because it was kind of fun.
video on
Okay.
your camera. That's pretty cool.
Okay, here we are with Jeff Freeman at the Late Show, and Jeff's a designer. And how's the show going for you?
Awesome. A lot of traffic, a lot of buyers, it's all good.
So you used to be a designer with Gerber.
I did. I used to be a manufacturing and industrial and design engineer for Gerber on the night side.
And tell us about your button lock.
My button lock is it's a flipper folder. So you use a flipper to trigger. The button actually works as a D10 in the closed position. So it looks like it closed and holds it. The pins are actuate and open. You push on the flipper and it opens. And being a button lock, you push the button to close it. The different thing about mine is it's on bearings. And it tends to make it pretty smooth. The grade 10 cage bearings. So it's truly one-handed opening and closing. You can open it with one hand and you can close it with one hand.
It's amazing how you do that.
And it's left-handed. I just use my index finger versus my thumb.
Wow. So now you make these.
I make every part on this, actually, except for the screws. I buy the stainless steel screws. I use D10 and S35DN with Cerakote coating. I machine the bevels. I machine both the handles. This handle here is 6061 aluminum with hard anodized coating. And I use a G10 insert in several different colors. This is one of my best-selling folders. Titanium pocket clip as well.
So before I met you, I put your other design, the button lock knife, in my book.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about that, or how you came up with the idea? Or
Certainly. One of the things to get around the existing patent, basically the Ken Onion patent, his lawyers were smart enough to make it so that it was rod. The spring on the side of the point of the blade pretty much says that you can't do a spring on either side. And I'd seen cantilever springs done many, many times. It goes back to the old, I think it's a Schrade patent back in the late 1890s. I have to look at it to see. But anyway, I thought, you know, we did button locks at Gerber for a while. We did an automatic knife, the 06 Auto. I thought, you know, it should be possible to put a cantilever spring in conjunction with a button lock and get around all the existing patents. And we did that. We made prototypes. We filed for the patent. It ran it pretty fast, within 2 years. It was pretty quick. So that was kind of where the idea was to have a spring down the middle, right down the center of the blade. And I'd seen cantilever spring. Button lock. Button lock's been around since the late 1800s.
so what's it like being a designer? You get into like all aspects of production and things like that, or what are you guys involved in?
I would say, like in a large company like Gerber, a design engineer needs to understand how it's built, but there's so many other people involved in the chain of production. You can be like a consultant, like how you guys are going to make this, and that's going to drive my design to an extent. Or if I have a way that I want something made that you don't have in the process, I'd have to work and figure that out.
Yeah. So they don't just lock you in a room and leave you there until you come out with an idea. It's like
No. And typically a design engineer's days is filled with meetings and
okay.
reports and how many parts on that bill of materials and what's it cost and all this stuff. Where would we buy that part if we were to just all the things that are not designed. I would say probably 10 to 20% of your time is actually engineering work. The rest of it is I used to call it administrative, but you know, it's just the way it is in the corporate world. Now with my own company, it's on me. I do the designs, I do the sourcing, I do the accounting, I do the machining, I do the grinding, I do the marketing. So,
what else you got going today? Anything?
Yeah, we have the folder, and then one of my other new knives is a fixed blade. This is a Tonto. I do several different blade styles. This is 5 inches long. I do a G10 3D machine, so it gives a good palm swell. This particular knife is a 451 fixed blade. Beckhoff sheath, Cerakote coating, high-grade spectrum wear tool steel. It's like a hard. It's in the high wear family of tool steels. And G10 stainless masters.
Sounds great, Jeff.
It's been a good show.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a great show.
I appreciate it.
All right.